Welcome all in this Global Oneness Festival, a 1 month-long celebration on account of Prakat Din of Bhagavadpadacharya Shankaracharya. Welcome all. I will start the session by chanting few mantras. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamidvavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Kinjotistava Bhanumana Hanime Ratrau Padipadikam Syadevam Ravidipadarshanayo Kinjotirakshahime Chakshustasya Nilanadi Samaye Kindiryo Darshane Kintatrahamato Bhavan Paramati Jyotistadasya Prabho. Shlokarthena pravakshyami yaduktam granthakotihi dhamma satyam jaganmithya jivo brahmanyanaparaha sadashiva samarambham Shankaracharya madhyamam asmadacharya paryantam vande guru paramparam. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Na nirodho na chotpattir na baddho na cha sadhataha na mokshur na vaimukta yesha paramarthata. Today we are fortunate enough to get one of the best scholars on the subject of Vedanta, Dr. Jammalamadaka Srinivas. Dr. J. Srinivas studied Nyaya Shastra and Tarka Shastra under Sri A. Radheshyam Shastri Garu, Advaita Vedanta under Sri R. Mani Dravida Shastri Garu, and Vyakarana under Sri Ganti Dattatreya Murthy Garu. He has completed the Tenali exams in Tarka Shastra and has also taken the Tenali exams for Advaita Vedanta. He holds a PhD and MPhil in Nyaya Shastra. Earlier, he served as an assistant professor and director of the School of Shastric Learning, Kavi Kulaguru Kalidas, Sanskrit University, Ramtek, Maharashtra. He is the co-founder of Rameshwari Foundation and is presently working as a scholar at IKS, Indian Knowledge System courses. In Siddhanta Knowledge Foundation, he has been conferred with awards such as Tarka Ratnam, Vidwanamani by Sri Kanchi Shankaracharya ji and Shastra Kalanidhi by Madhya Pradesh State Governor. Over to you, Dr. J. Srinivas.
Thank you. Shuklam Bharadharam Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarvavighnopashantaya Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitanjena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavadpadacharya Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krito Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha. First, I wish to thank Indic Academy for conducting this Oneness Festival from past 4 years, I suppose, and giving us all the opportunity to explore some of the facades of Vedanta. And every time I'm being given an opportunity to explore some unique topics with all of you. So today I'll be speaking on exploring the crucial role of Nyaya and Meemamsa in understanding Vedanta. So as you all know that Vedanta essentially is based on the learnings or the Upadeshas of the Upanishads, but still we have a tradition or a methodology has been developed over centuries on how to understand the eternal knowledge by from the Vedas, because it is very complex. It is not very easy to actually decipher the meaning out of that. So there were several methodologies that have been developed, not only in the schools of Vedanta, but in other schools also. So in the traditional approach, a learner's journey starts with introducing himself to Vyakarana, parts of grammar and Kavya, and then gradually the learner will be introduced to Nyaya Shastra or Tarka Shastra, then fundamentals of Meemamsa, and then to Vedanta. So this is the normal approach towards Vedanta. So there are two aspects to it. One is that in order to understand the concepts explored in the Upanishads or in the Vedanta Shastra, they are a bit, they cannot be understood by, you need to have some kind of maturity to understand them. So for that, you need some age. And not only that, you need to even get equipped yourself with certain tools that have been developed in other darshanas, such as Meemamsa and Nyaya. So today, I will be just trying to explore, taking one or two examples from Nyaya Darshana and Meemamsa and see how they are applicable in understanding Vedanta as a darshana. So the main the concepts that I wish to take today is two concepts from Nyaya Darshana and two from the Meemamsa Darshana, Purva Meemamsa Darshana. So one is Lakshanam or definition, and the second one is Anumiti or the process of inference or constituents of inference. These both topics from Nyaya Darshana, and Tatparya Nirnayaka Pramanas from Meemamsa Darshana, and Apachcheda Nyaya also from Meemamsa Darshana. So these four, how these four concepts that have been developed in other darshanas will be helpful, or the knowledge of these will be helpful in order to understand certain concepts in Vedanta, is what will be the focal point of today's talk. So what is Lakshanam? So Lakshanam is essentially definition. So we have this saying in the Shastras, Manadhina Meya Siddhi Manasiddhischa Lakshanat Tacha Adhyakshadi Maneshu Girvaneirapi Durbhanam. So Meya, Prameya or Meya means the subject, any subject, whatever subject we need to understand or we need to know, that is dependent on the Pramanas. So Manadhina. So the Meya Siddhi. Siddhi means the knowledge. The knowledge of any subject is dependent on Pramana. And the knowledge of Pramanas or the existence of the Pramanas is dependent on the definitions of those Pramanas. So Manasiddhischa Lakshana. So this Manasiddhi or the existence or the knowledge of these Pramanas will be based on the definitions of that Pramana. So that is why in the Shastric discourse, whatever discussion will be there, it starts with fundamental questions of what is this. That is, it starts with a question for definition. If you want to delve into any topic, first you need to define what do you want or what is the pramana. Even each and every pramana, if it is even pratyaksha pramana, it has a definition to it. So without the definition, we cannot really know the essence of that particular pramana or the prameya or the subject, whether it is the source of subject, means of subject, or the subject. Not only that, even we need to differentiate one from the another. So what is the purpose of definition? One of the purpose of definition is discrimination or differentiation one from the another. So that is why pramanas are the lakshana or the definitions are classified into two. The one kind of a definition is called as swarupa lakshanam, and the second one is called as tatastha lakshanam. So what is swarupa lakshanam? Is swarupa meva lakshanam swarupa lakshanam. So the definition which is aimed at describing the definendium. So definendium means that which is being defined. So if I want to define what Prithvi is, then Prithvi will become the definidium or the lakshyam, we call it in the Shastra. And not aimed at differentiating the definitum or the definidium from the others is Swarupa Lakshanam. So the whole purpose of Swarupa Lakshanam would be describing the definidium. So it describes what are the qualities of it. It is not focused into differentiating the definidium. So like Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. So this Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma is the Upanishad Vakya, which is also the Swarupa Lakshana of Parabrahma. So Satya Swarupa, Jnana Swarupa and Ananta Swarupa. So here by stating Satyam Brahma or Jnanam Brahma, it is not meant that this is not Ajnanam or this is different from Ajnanam or anything. So here this Vakya, Upanishad Vakya is aimed at describing the nature of Param Brahma in order to understand. The second Lakshana will be Tatastha Lakshana. So there are two parts to it. We find this definition of Tatastha Lakshana in Vedanta Paribhasha as Yaval Lakshakalam Anavasthitatve Sati Vyavartakam Lakshanam. So we have Vyavartakam Lakshanam. So Vyavartakam Lakshanam means the definition which is aimed at differentiating or discriminating the definidium from the others through the unique qualities of the definidium is Tatastha Lakshanam. So if I have to define what Prithvi, how Prithvi is, then the definition of Prithvi given in Tarkasangraha would be Gandhavati Prithvi. So Tatra Gandhavati Prithvi. That is, that entity which is having smell or odor is Prithvi. So what is happening by defining Prithvi as Gandhavati? So Gandha or having a smell is the unique attribute of or unique quality of Prithvi. So by stating that that entity which is having smell or odor is Prithvi, one thing is, yes, we are able to know what Prithvi is. And at the same time, by stating that that which is having odor is Prithvi, we are differentiating Prithvi from the other padarthas or dravyas, such as water, fire, and etc. Fire, etc. So this is the Vyavartakam Lakshanam. So why I have color coded this definition of Tatastha Lakshanam is, from the Nyaya Shastra, we take this Vyavartakam Lakshanam. So in Nyaya Shastra, we have Vyavartakam Lakshanam. So one kind of a Lakshanam is Vyavartakam Lakshanam. So that is what is called as Tatastha Lakshanam in Vedanta. The addition as Yaval Lakshakalam Anavasthitatvam is a value addition from Vedanta. So a Tatastha Lakshanam, that means this definition is not, it is not essential that it is every time applicable to the definidium. That is, so what is the Tatastha Lakshanam of Brahma is Jagad Utpatti Sthiti Laya Karanatvam. So we have Yatova Imani Bhutani Jayante Yena Jatani Jivanti Yat Prayanti Abhisambhishanti, the Upanishad Vakya, which will distill to the Tatastha Lakshanam of Parabrahma being Jagad Utpatti Sthiti Laya Karanatvam. The entity which is the cause for the creation, sustenance and destruction of the whole Jagat is Param Brahma. So this definition is not applicable to Parabrahman before the creation. Sadeva somyedamagra asidekamevad dvitiyam. So based on the Chandogya Shruti of Sadeva somyedamagra asit, what do we know is before the creation, there is only one Param Brahma. There is no Jagat, the creation, nor sustenance, nor destruction of the Jagat, Srishti or creation. So you do not have this Tatastha Lakshanam at the stage prior to the creation in Parabrahma. So that is what is meant by Yaval Lakshakalam Anavasthitatvam. Lakshakalam, Yaval Lakshakalam. So the Lakshya to this Lakshana or the definidium is Param Brahma. And this Lakshanam is not Anavasthitam. So it is not applicable or there in the definidium every time. So even if we take as Gandhavatvam or having order to Prithvi, So there is even in Prithvi, on the kshana, or at the time of creation, there is no gandha or smell in Prithvi. So that we call it as utpanna kshanavachinna Prithvi. So the first second when Prithvi is created, or any entity of Prithvi is created, there is no gandha in that, because of some other yukti that the Nayayikas state. So at that stage, you don't have Gandhavatvam. So there is no Yaval Lakshakalam and Avasthiti. So you cannot apply this Gandhavatvam, the definition called Gandhavatvam in Prithvi, at the time of creation of Prithvi. But still, from the second or second kshana, dvitiya kshana, this definition is applicable to Prithvi. So hence, this Yaval Lakshakalam Anavasthitatvam is inserted into the definition of Tatastha Lakshanam. So this is a next level to what is being a concept being introduced in Nyaya Shastra. So this is also another, this also will serve as an example how Vedanta, the Vedanta Darshana has used the methodologies or concepts of other Shastras. I mean, they have taken them and developed further them. So the introductory part would be Vyavartakatvam to be the Lakshanam, Tatastha Lakshanam. The value addition is Yaval Lakshakalam Anavasthitatvam. This we don't have in Nyaya Shastra. In Nyaya Shastra, the fallacy which I earlier stated is considered to be a fallacy. That is, Gandhavatvam, the Lakshanam or the definition not being applicable in the first second or first kshana of the creation of Prithvi is a fallacy. So there we call it as the fallacy to be as avyapti or narrow application. So in order to evade this fallacy, they modify the definition itself. But here, what's happening in Vedanta is it is acceptable for them. Okay, let it not be there. We will add something else to the definition of the definition. So that is how they have taken it to the next level of development of this concept. So this is Lakshanam. And another instance that I can quote is something like, if any entity or any subject, if it has to be perceived through our eyes, that is the Chakshurindriya, the introductory logic is that whichever entity or subject is having color or rupam can be perceived by the Chakshurindriya or eyes, the sensory organ which is residing at the eye. So, but Vedanta, in Vedanta, in Advaita Vedanta, they do not accept this logic that whichever entity is having color is perceivable for the Chakshurindriya, by Chakshurindriya, is perceivable by Chakshurindriya, because they state that even kala or time is perceivable by Chakshurindriya, because once you see any object, idani matra ghatosti. So the pot is there now on the floor. So that is how you actually perceive a pot. So desha and kala both are being subject to the knowledge. So there is no badhaka pramana, or there is nothing that contradicts, or there is no fallacy that will arise if I accept an entity such as time, which is not having color, is perceivable by the Chakshurindriya. So Vedanta actually uses the logic that is there in Nyaya Shastra and actually enhances it, value adds it, and takes it to the next level. So the second concept is Anumiti. So Anumiti is inference. So I'm just taking two entities, I mean two constituents or parts of the process of Anumiti, how we arrive to inference. So one is Anumana Prayoga. So how do we actually express inference in Shastra is, which is called as Anumana Prayoga. So we have a Paksha, Sadhya and Hetu, which are called as minor term, major term and middle term in English. So Paksha is called as minor term, Sadhya is called as major term and Hetu is called as middle term. So if I take Parvato Vanhiman Dhumat, then Parvata will become the minor term, Vanhi or fire will become the major term and Dhuma will become the minor term, will become the middle term. So this is one way of expressing the Anumana, expressing inference. So this technique actually helps us to distill a chunk of discourse. That why I mean here logic is there, everything is needed, right? So I've just taken apart from the Brahma Sutra Bhashya, where Bhagavadpada actually uh, expresses the importance of logic. So यद्यपीदं वेदान्तवाक्यानाम् ऐदं पर्यं निरूपयितुं शास्त्रं प्रवृत्तं न तर्कशास्त्रवत् केवलाभिर्युक्तिभिः किञ्चित् सिद्धान्तं साधयितुं दूषयितुं वा प्रवृत्तं तथापि वेदान्तवाक्यानि व्याचक्षाणैः सम्यक् दर्शनप्रतिपक्षभूतानि सांख्यादिदर्शनानि निराकरणीयानि इति तदर्थः परः पादः प्रवर्तते. So this is the introductory observations of Shankaracharya in the second pada of second adhyaya in Sutra Bhashya. Even though in first adhyaya itself, the other schools of thought, such as Sankhya and etc., were actually refuted, and the whole objective, the main objective, or the main objective of Vedanta is not actually to refute other schools of thought, but to establish the Advaita Tattva, the Parabrahma Tattva that is prevailing everywhere. But still, there are contradictions that have been raised by other schools of thought. It is needed for the Vedanta school of thought to actually refute them. So in the previous padas, this refutation has been done based on the Shruti Pramana by quoting the Shruti Vakyas. But what is happening in the second pada is those schools of thoughts, other schools of thoughts are being refuted through logic, or some of the logics that they have applied. The other schools of thoughts, the logics that have been taken or considered by other schools of thought in order to establish their own thought, have been taken by the Vedantins in the second pada of the second adhyaya and refute them. So it is purely a logical discussion that is happening here. So wherever there is logic discourse, then the importance of inference arrives over there. So the fundamentals of inference and the constituents or the process of inference is explored extensively in Nyaya Shastra, but not in Vedanta. So Vedanta uses this methodology that has been developed in other darshana in order to they use that methodology here and explore and to their benefit. So that is what he here taduchyate sankhyadeyaha swapaksha sthapanaya vedanta vakyanyapyudahritya swapakshanugunnyeneva yojantaha vyachakshate tesham yad vyakhyanam tad vyakhyana abhasam na samyak vyakhyanam ityetavat purvam kritam ihatu vakya nirapekshaha swatantraha tad yukti pratishedha kriyate ityesha visheshaha. So until now, even the Sankhya school of thought or other schools of thought have taken the Veda Vakyas or Vedanta Vakyas for substantiating their own viewpoint, and they have been refuted. But here in this pada, Vakya Nirapekshaha Swatantraha Yukti Tad Yukti Pratishedha. So those logics which are not based on the Vedanta Vakyas, which have been taken by the contradictory schools of thought, are being refuted in a pure logical way and not based on the Shruti Pramana, is what is the introduction to the second pada is given by Shankaracharya. So how is this So there we will take a small bit from the first adhikarana itself, Rachananupapatti Adhikarana. So there the whole Purva is there in these 4 sentences, and if I have to distill these 4 sentences, that will actually come to this Anumana Prayoga. So that is why I have taken the Anumana Prayoga as one of the examples. So तत्र सांख्याः मन्यन्ते यथा घटशरावादयः भेदाः मृदात्मकतयान्वीयमानाः मृदात्मकसामान्यपूर्वकाः लोके दृष्टाः तथा सर्वे एव बाह्याध्यात्मिकभेदाः सुखदुःखमोहात्मकतयान्वीयमानाः सुखदुःखमोहात्मकसामान्यपूर्वकाः भवन्ति भवितुमर्हन्ति. So there is a logic being proposed here that whatever qualities that are there in the cause or the karana are being seen or are being experienced or being reflected even in the karya or the effect also. So the cause, the entities of the cause are being seen in the effect. So here the Sankhya school of thought is proposing that the Sukha, Dukkha and Moha. So this is Sukha, Dukkha, Mohatmakam Samanyam tat trigunam pradhanam mritvad-acetanam chetanasya purushasya artham sadhayitum swabhavenaiva vichitrena vikaratmana pravartate tatha parimanadibhirapi lingaihi adeva pradhanam anumimate. So anumimate. So as we are able to see that some of the whatever according to the Sankhya school of thought, everything comes from the prakriti or pradhanam. So the entities of pradhana, that is sattva tamo gunas, and the outcome of sattva tamo guna are being experienced in the effect, that is the jagat. So hence we will infer that whatever, because sukha, dukkha and moha are essentially the reflections or the effects that are which we are experiencing in the jagat, are nothing but that are the entities or the qualities that are there in pradhana, in the triguna swarupa, that is in sattva-rajas-tamo guna rupa. So they are actually distilling whole this argument into one Anumana Prayoga, that is sarvam karyam sukha dukkha mohatmaka vastu prakritikam tadanvitatvat ghatavat. So whatever the karya or the effect that is there, that is the jagat, is sukha dukkha mohatmaka vastu prakritikam. So that is an outcome or an effect of the cause which is of in the form of sukha dukkha moha rupa. Tadanvitatvat. So whatever because you are even able to experience this sukha dukkha and moha in the effect or the jagat, so that will actually establish that even the cause is also having the same entities or the same qualities. How ghatavat. So if ghata or a pot is an effect of the karya of the mud, so whatever qualities that you actually perceive in the mrit or mud, such as shininess, if you pour some water it becomes shiny, and smoothness or the color, there are certain the smell and etc., which you can also experience in the pot. So the pot is also very smooth, the pot is shiny, the pot is having this smell, it is emitting the smell and etc. So these all are entities that have followed from, or those are the effects of the entities or qualities that are there in the karana, that is mud or mrit. So based on this logic, sukha dukkha mohatmaka prakritikam jagat, so this is being inferred here. So this is how the whole argument can be distilled into one small sentence in the paksha sadhya hetu format. So this again is being refuted based on their own logic here. So how? So I'll just focus on the distilled here. The Ratnaprabha is the commentary on Sutra Bhashya, one of the famous commentaries on Sutra Bhashya. So here, before going to the Tatra Vadamaha and etc., is the answer given in the Shankara Bhashya. So this is actually the whole, what you call, the crux of or the gist of the Siddhanta, that is being explored in the Bhashya. So here we have something called as Hetva Bhasas. That is also which is being initiated normally in the Nyaya Shastra explored, which is used while the logical arguments happen. So what are Hetva Bhasas? Hetva Bhasas are fallacies that are there in the Hetu, or the middle term, that cause that we actually, based on which we infer, right? So if there is any fallacy in the cause, or which will lead to the what you call, the negation of the logic or vyapti, invariable concomitance that is being proposed, based on which the inference is arrived at the inference. So if there is any fallacy in this logic, then the hetu, or the cause that which has been taken, is actually refuted. So here there are two pakshas that the Siddhantins take. Kim anumanaihi achetana prakritikatvam sadhyate jagataha swatantra chetana prakritikatvam va. So what are you intending to actually prove through the inference, the previous inference? Do you want to prove that an entity such as prakriti, which is achetana, which is jada, is the cause for the jagat? Or do you want to prove that this prakriti pradhana, or the prakriti, a jada padartha, is a swatantra hetu? Swatantra means not relying upon any other entity. It is being proposed as a cause for the jagat, so creation. What is your intention? What do you want to prove? If you want to prove that a jada entity such as pradhana is the cause for the effect, if you want to prove that, then your effort is useless, because this is something called as siddha sadhana. So we do not infer things that have been known through other means prior to this inference. If I know that there is fire in the mountain prior to inference, there is no need of inference there. If I don't know there is fire in the mountain, then itself inference is fruitful. If not, it is useless. So I don't go for inference as a pramana, because if I am able to see fire in the mountain, why would I actually infer that there is fire in the mountain? So normally inference happens, or we go to inference as a source of, in order to know anything, if we don't know what is being inferred by any other pramana, by any other means of perception. So mrit is achetanam. Mrit, that is mud, is achetana padartha. So achetana padartha such as mud or mrit is the cause for ghata or pot. So this I know prior to your inference. So I don't need your inference to prove that something called something achetanam is the cause for some effect or karya. So because that is being proven, that I know prior to this inference. So here there comes a fallacy called siddha sadhana. So there is no need for this inference. No, if you say that this inference is being made, or this argument is being placed in order to prove that a jada padartha, an entity of jada such as prakriti, is a swatantra karana, that is, it is an independent cause. It does not depend on other entities to achieve or to create something. If you want to state that it is a swatantra karana, swatantra achetana prakritikatvam yadi sadhyate dvitiye drishtante sadhya prasiddhi. So if you say your purpose to be to establish independent causality to prakriti, achetana called prakriti, then the drishtanta, or the example that you have actually taken is it has a fallacy. It is a false, because you said ghatavat, like ghata. So you have taken ghata to be your example, wherein ghata is not, in the case of ghata or pot, mrit or mud is not an independent cause, because if there is no kulala or a potter, this mud will not actually evolve as ghata. So without another entity other than mud cannot be the cause for ghata. So there is no swatantra achetana prakriti there in the case of ghata. So your example is false. So your example does not fit in the argument, and hence this is called as drishtanta aprasiddhi. So by actually stating that there are two, whichever argument you want to take, both the arguments have some or the other kind of fallacy. Hence, your argument or the Sankhya school of thought, which states that Prakriti being the Upadana Karana for the Jagat, does not actually suffice. So that is why that is being refuted through the logic or by establishing fallacies in the argument of Sankhyas. So this is one way that they use this. So this is the Anumiti. Then comes Tatparya Nirnayaka Pramanas. So in Meemamsa, so Meemamsa Shastra is called as Vakya Shastra. So the main objective of Meemamsa Shastra would be to arrive to a distilled meaning or to arrive to a authoritative meaning of Veda Vakyas. So they have many methodologies that have been developed. So one of them is the Tatparya Nirnayaka Pramanas. So there are 6 Tatparya Nirnayaka Pramanas in the so that are as Upakramopasamharau, Abhyasaha, Apurvata, Phalam, Arthavadopapatti cha Lingam Tatparya Nirnaye. So we have Upakrama and Upasamhara as one entity. That is the commencement and the closing remarks. That is the opening and the closing remarks. And Abhyasa, repetition or reiteration. Apurvata, that is uniqueness. Phalam, outcome. Arthavada, eulogy. Upapatti, reasoning. So these 6 kinds of pramanas will help us to summarize or to help us know what is the whole intention of a chunk of a text. So that is, if I can take an example from the Tarka Sangraha. So Tarka Sangraha starts with classifying 7 padarthas. Dravya Guna Karma Samanya Vishesha Samavaya Bhava Sapta Padartha. So it starts with classification of the Jagat or the whole cosmos into 7 entities. That is Dravya, Guna, Karma, Samanya, Vishesha, Samavaya and Abhava. Why? Because the Tattvajnana or the right valid knowledge of these 7 entities would lead to moksha. So that is the understanding of the Nyaya Vaisheshika Darshana or the Nyaya Darshana if it is 16 padarthas. So that is why the work starts with the classification of 7 padarthas. And if you see the ending remarks, the closing remarks, it will be Saptaiva Padarthaha iti Siddham. This is the last sentence of Tarka Sangraha. So what is the starting sentence? Sapta Padarthaha. The closing statement is Saptaiva Padarthaha iti Siddham. So if you examine the opening statement and the closing statement, it is only about Sapta Padarthas. It starts saying that there are 7 padarthas, and it ends with saying that there are only 7, not more than 7. So what could be the whole exploration in the between text? That will be anything and everything related to these Saptapadarthas. So the essence of these Saptapadarthas are explored in the work is what we can understand by just examining the opening and the closing statements. So by this, you can actually come to a conclusion of the tatparya of that particular text or the objective of that particular text. What is the main objective of Tarka Sangraha? Is to introduce us to the 7 padarthas. So this is how we can actually summarize or know the intention of certain things of the Granthakarta and etc. So there is one example for Upakrama and Upasamhara. Abhyasa means repetition. Normally, in a discourse, repetition is a fallacy. That means you do not repeat about anything that you have actually explored once. So that is why if you actually explain about one particular topic, there is no need for you to actually repeat it again and again. So that is normally a fallacy or a what you call come as a nyunata of any discourse, that you do not repeat the same thing again and again. That is called as punarukti. Punarukti is a dosha or a fallacy actually. But if a subject is very deep, it is very dense, and it is very hard for us to actually understand, then there is a need for us to go through the subject again and again. So then it becomes a guna rather than a dosha. So it is essential in order to understand certain dense subjects. So you go through it you go through it for multiple times. You repeat or you reiterate with different kinds of examples. You kind of keep on giving different examples in order to understand the uniqueness or the essence of that particular subject. Then that becomes abhyasa. So this is very much prevalent, in Vedanta Shastra. So Vedanta Shastra, the whole this thing of Vedanta Shastra would be to say that Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya, and there is only one Brahman and there is nothing else other than Brahman, and etc. But still, why each and every Upanishad is stating the same thing again and again? Why it is stating again and again? It is because it is very hard for us to understand this essence, that there is only Parabrahman one and there is nothing else. There is no dual entity. The second entity other than Parabrahman, which is eternal, which is Paramarthika. So that is where I would wish to quote a small phrase from the Shankara Bhashya and Bhagavad-Gita in the second Adhyaya, the 24th shloka. We find this Bhashya where it is said, Durbodhatvat atmavastunaha punah punah prasangam apadya shabdantarena tadeva vastu nirupayati bhagavan vasudevaha kathannu nama samsarinam buddhigocharata mapannam sat avyaktam tattvam samsara nivrittaye syatiti. So Durbodhatvad Atmavastunaha. The subject called as Atma or Parabrahma is very hard. It is very hard for us to know Durbodham. So that is why Prasangam Apadya. Bhagavan Vasudeva, he sees how can I actually again reiterate the same Tattva of Parabrahma with different examples and different connotations. Why? Because Nirupayati Punah Punah Prasangam Apadya Shabdantarena. The words may change, the expression may change, but the essence of the expression is the same. The objective of the expression is the same. Why? Kathannu nama samsarinam avyaktam tattvam samsara nivrittaye syat. How can I actually make people understand who are there in samsara about the Atma Tattva, because they have to come out of this samsara bandha. Punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. Punarapi janani jathare shainam. So how can I actually get out of this samsara, which is creating very many displeasures to the jivas? So how can I actually take them out of this samsara is by introducing the Atma Tattva to them. Some may actually relate to some of the examples, some may not. So that is why different kinds of examples and different kinds of stories and etc. are explored, are told, in order, the main objective is to actually introduce or make you experience the Atma Tattva of Atma Tattva or Parabrahma Tattva. So this is one example for Abhyasa. Then comes Apurvata. So what is the uniqueness of any discourse? There should be some phalam, some outcome of this phalam and apurvata. That means there should be some uniqueness. If you say the same thing with just some different expression, that doesn't serve the purpose. So in order to say that each and every part of Upanishad or each and every part of any discourse to be valid or to be useful, you need to prove or establish some uniqueness in each and every expression of yours. So based on that also, you can actually understand what is the intention of the whole discourse. Then comes phalam. That is the outcome. What is the whole objective or the intended outcome of this discourse is also to be known. If you know that, then also you can understand what is the whole discourse about. At times it may be that a small story is being told. But the objective of a moral story is not story, actually, but it is the moral, right? So in that way, what is the outcome is the knowledge of some moral, some moral, right? But the story may not actually explain that directly, but the whole story, if you go through the whole story, some moral will be there in the focal point. So that is the outcome of that particular story, could be that. And arthavada, and many a times jnana stuti is what we say, the phalashruti. Many a times we see what is the phalashruti actually intended towards. It is stating if you take Vishnu Sahasranama Phalashruti, the main objective of the Phalashruti is not actually in the meaning of those words, but the prashastyam of the greatness of Vishnu Sahasranama. So by that also you understand the greatness or the intention of the main discourse. And upapatti, there should be some reasoning, and arthabadha is what also said. It is also said that whatever is being explored is not against, it's not illogical. It should not be illogical. It should be logical. So it should be put in a structured way. It should be logical, everything. So these are all some of the pramanas or means for us to understand what is the main objective of any particular discourse. So this is there in the Meemamsa Shastra. And interestingly, actually it is not essential that all these 6 pramanas have to be there in each and every exploration or any discourse is not essential. Any one of these pramanas will suffice to establish or to know what is the main objective of that particular discourse. But interestingly, in Chandogya Upanishad, in the 6th Adhyaya, we find all the 6 Tatparya Nirnayaka Pramanas. So Chandogya Upanishad 6th Adhyaya will be a best example for these 6 Pramanas. So Upakrama and Upasamhara. So what is the Upakrama Vakya or the opening? That is Sadeva Somyedamagra Asidekhameva Advitiyam. So which states that prior to the creation, there is only one Param Brahma and nothing else. Ekameva Advitiyam. Eva. By the Evakara, the second entity is being rejected. And the last, the closing this thing would be Tat Satyam Sa Atma Tat Tamasi. And then the Srishti Prakriya is everything is told. And then what is being, the Upadesha is being done that you are that particular entity. You are the Parabrahman. Tat Satyam Tat Tvamasi Tat Tvamasi. So by stating that eternally or Paramarthika, in the Paramarthika sense, there is nothing other than the Sat Padartha. So the opening and the closing statements state by examining these both statements, we can understand the whole Tatparya of the Shashtadhyaya of Chandogya Upanishad would be Jiva Brahma Aikyam or Ek Advitiyatvam of the Parabrahma is the main essence of the 6th Adhyaya. And Abhyasa is reiteration. So we have 9 times Tattvamasi Upadesha, not once. Right? Tattvamasi iti Navakrutvopadesha. So from 8th Khanda to 16th Khanda, in 9 Khandas, Tattvamasi sa Atma, Aitadatma Vidam Sarvam, Tattvamasi sa Atma, Tattvamasi Shveta Keto. So this is how Tattvamasi. So 9 times Tattvamasi is actually the Upadesha is done. Why? In order to substantiate that Tattvamasi, the Jiva Brahma Aikya Tattva, very strongly, 9 times it is being repeated. And then Apurvata, what is the whole uniqueness of this 6th Adhyaya is Jiva Brahma Abheda. So that is the Apurvata. And this Apurvata means, also another meaning is that this essence that you cannot get from other resources. Like if there is no Tattvamasi, apart from Tattvamasi Vakya, or keeping other Upanishad Vakyas, you cannot know the Jiva Brahma Abheda Tattva. It is only the Upanishad that can actually establish this this Tattva. Not any other Pramana is having the capability to actually put forth this Tattva. So that is the Apurvata, uniqueness of this whole discourse. What is the phalam? What is the outcome of Shashtadhyaya Adhyanam? is adhyasa nivritti. In Shankara Bhashya, we find this, what is the phalam? The question is raised, and then the samadhanam or the answer is given by Bhashyakara as kartrutva bhoktritvayoho adhikritatva vijnana nivrittihi tasya phalam. The whole phalam or the outcome of this sixth adhyaya would be adhyasa nivritti, brahma nivritti. Arthavada, that is, there are different from the 8th khanda to 16th khanda. Each and every time new examples are given. So that is one kind of an arthavada. That is, the main essence of that discourse is not there in the meaning of those examples, but the paramarthika tattva, that is jiva brahma veda. So that is arthavada. And upapatti, vishayasya abadhitatvaram. Tatparyavat shruti pratipaditatvat. So whatever is being proposed or explained in Shashtadhyaya is based on the shruti, whose meaning has been determined. So whatever is being proposed over there is logical enough. So this is the upapatti. Then the fourth one and the last one, that is apachcheda nyaya. So apachcheda nyaya will help us, it will help in establishing the dominance of Shruti Pramana. So Purva Parye Purva Daurbalyam is the Jaimini Sutra. Purva Parye, if there are two entities, one is the former and second one to be the later one. The later one will be the dominating thing, and the prior one, Purva Daurbalyam, will become weaker. So the first one will be the weaker and the second one will be the stronger one. So how is this used in Vedanta? This concept is Katham Tarihi Shruteh Prabalyam. This we find in Shastra Siddhanta Lesha Sangraha. I mean, where the explanation about how Shruti is dominant pramana considered, or the stronger pramana than Pratyaksha pramana. Nirdoshatvat Paratvat Shruti Matrasya Pratyakshat Prabalyam. Nirdoshatvat. The Pratyaksha pramana or the sensory perception is sadosha. It is subject to many fallacies, because we are subject to many fallacies. Even the sensory organs are also subject to many fallacies. So whatever is being perceived by the sensory organs may not be right. But whatever is being iterated by Shruti is right because it is not based on sensory perception. And Paratvat. So Paratvat means it comes it is lateral pramana. So first, for anyone, the sensory perception would be the first perception. So it is our first gateway to knowledge would be our sensory organs. The lateral knowledge would be the verbal perception. Based on sensory perception is what happens normally, verbal perception also. So Paratvat. So in this Paratvat, this Apachcheda Nyaya comes to place. So then that is why Shruti Matrasya Pratyakshat Prabalyam. So what is Apachcheda Nyaya? So how to understand that? In order to understand Apachcheda Nyaya, we need to know where it is actually being explored. So that I'll just play a video. So kindly go through kindly observe what's happening in this video. So if you see here, these are all Ritviks who are standing here. So each and every Ritvik is actually holding the other Ritvik's kacha, which we call it as kacham. So this is called as kacham. So they are holding this kacham. So this is called as apasarpanam, that is going from one place to another in the yajna vedi itself. So this is Jyotishtome Bahishpavamanartham Apasarpanam. There is a ritual called as Bahishpavamanam, and there all the Ritviks have to hold the kacham of the other Ritviks and go from one place to another place. So in this scenario, if one Ritvik leaves the other Ritvik's kacham, so that is a dosha. So there are different kinds of Ritviks. One is called as Udgata and the other one is called as Pratiharta. So the Udgata, if an Udgata, leaves the kacham of the other ritvik, then what will happen? Yad yudgata apachhidyeta adakshanam tam yajnamishtva tena punaryajeta. If this is called as udgatrapacheda. From this apacheda, the word apacheda is taken. So if udgata will lose the hold of other ritviks kacha apacheda, then when this is called as udgatrapacheda, so then the Yajamana has to perform this whole yajna without giving any dakshina to the Ritviks, and then again perform the whole yajna. So this is the prayashchitta for Udgat Trapacheda. Then comes Pratihar Trapacheda. There is another Ritvik called Pratiharta. When Pratihar Trapacheda or the lose of hold of this kacha of Pratiharta happens, यदि हर प्रतिहर्ता अपच्छेद्येत सर्ववेदसं दद्यात्, if pratiharta apachcheda happens, the yajamana has to give away whatever wealth he is having to others. So this is the prayashchitta for pratiharta apachcheda. So in a same yajna, there can be only udgatra apachcheda, there can happen only pratiharta apachcheda. There can be Udgatra Pachcheda followed by Pratihatra Pachcheda, Pratihatra Pachcheda followed by Udgatra Pachcheda. So what should we do? If there is only one Apachcheda, there is no problem. There is only one Prayashchitta to be done. If there are two Apachchedas happening, so with which Prayashchittam has to be performed is the question. So then this is the Purva Aparye Purva Daurbalyam. So if first Udgatra Pachcheda happens and then Pratihatra Pachcheda, then Prayashchitta of Pratihatra Pachcheda has to be done, not Udgatra Pachcheda Prayashchitta. Purva Aparya Purva Daurbalyam. So the Purva, the lateral, the prior Apachcheda will become weak. Hence, the Prayashchittam for that Apachcheda need not to be performed. And if first Pratihatra Pachcheda happens and then Udgatra Pachcheda, then Udgatra Pachcheda Prayashchitta has to be performed, not the Pratihatra Pachcheda Prayashchitta. So anywhere, the second one or the lateral one will be the strongest. So the same yukti or nyaya or the same concept is being used here also. So what is the first pramana that actually comes is Pratyaksha pramana, and then Shabda pramana or the Shruti pramana comes. So, evam purvam ghatadi satyatva pratyaksham parayatan mithyatva shruti janya buddhya badhyate. So, what is the Shruti telling? Nehana nasti kinchana. It is stating that the Jagat is mithya. It is mithya. So, it is myth, right? And Brahma itself is satyam. But we perceive through our sensory organs that Jagat to be satyam. So, Ghatadi satyatva pratyaksham. So how do we actually develop this cognizance? Is by our sensory organs. So the perception, sensory perception that we preliminarily have, is contradicted by Shruti. So Shruti comes afterwards. So based on this Apachchedan Nyaya, Shruti becomes a dominant force. Shruti actually is the stronger pramana compared to Pratyaksha, because Pratyaksha is Purva pramana and Parapramana is Shruti pramana. Hence, Shruti pramana prevails, even though you are saying you are experiencing Jagat to be Satya, but Shruti saying it to be Mithya will prevail, and hence Jagat is Mithya and not Satyam. This is how Shruti pramana's Pravalyam is being established in Vedanta, based on the concept of Apachchedan Nyaya that has been introduced or explored in Purva Meemamsa Shastra. So therefore, Shruti is a stronger pramana than Pratyaksha pramana. So this is how Apachchedan Nyaya is useful in Vedanta Darshana. So I wish to conclude here. Yadatra saushthavam kinchit tad guroreva me nahi, yadatra saushthavam kinchit tan mamaiva name guru. If there is any virtue in my presentation, that belongs to my guru. If there is any lacuna, that belongs to me, not to my guru. And thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for giving such a nice explanation of extremely difficult concepts of rules of cognition and establishing the establishing the proofs of cognition in terms of Nyaya and in terms of Meemamsa by taking example of Lakshana, Anubhuti, Tatparya and Apachcheda. That was really I understand that was complicated, but then I think if the student studies more and more on the basis of the YouTube lecture thereafter, it will be available. One request is that your first page of the presentation, where the Swarupa Lakshanani and Tatastha Lakshanani are mentioned, someone wants to see it again. So can you please show that page number 1 of the presentation, which discloses the Swarupa Lakshanani and Tatastha Lakshanani?
Yes.
Please.
I think this.
Yeah.
The one they wanted to see.
Yes. Where Satyam Jnanamanantam Brahma Jagadutpatti Sthitилaya Karanatvam. I personally enjoyed it very much. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. J. Srinivas. Thanks again.
Thank
you. Viewers, please join tomorrow morning the Adhyasa Bhashya by Swami Akhilananda Saraswati. Tomorrow's will be Hindi talk.